Well, hey everybody, Dave Jensen here with the Dream Big Tour Adventure Update. We've just wrapped up day 12. It is Saturday, May 25th, and I'm here in Terrell, Texas, which is just east of Dallas. Spent the entire day making my way through the gigantic 100-mile metropolitan Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington area, and an adventure it was for sure. Well, we last left you on day 7 in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Day 7 was an adventure day, to say the least. Started out leaving Las Cruces at about 3,000 feet of altitude. Literally started out by riding gravel with this giant mountain in front of me. And let me tell you, it was incredibly intimidating. But I just pressed on, kept riding, made that first climb of about 2,000 feet without much trouble. The first climb was only about 3 miles or so. The descent was extremely thrilling. Ended up on flat land for another 35, 40 miles or so to Alamogordo, where I began the true 4,000 foot climb all the way up to Cloudcroft. 17 miles of non-stop climbing, the most intense ride of my life. Managed to do it in about 2.5 hours, stopping every 2 miles or so. By the time I reached the top at Cloudcroft, it was a sight like none other. Just beautiful, this little village. The temperature actually dropped about 20 degrees from Alamogordo to Cloudcroft, so the cooler temps certainly helped with the climbing. So that was the end of day 7. Waking up in Cloudcroft at nearly 9,000 feet of altitude with the cool, crisp air, I was excited to make that descent down back into the plains of New Mexico. And I tell you what, I must have descended 30 miles in about an hour or so, averaging 30 miles an hour. Oh, it was thrilling. Once I reached the plains, I continued eastward to Artesia, New Mexico, which really began a new phase of the trip. I was in oil territory now, and so it was endless roads of oil trucks and oil tankers and machinery and just the smell of oil in the air, the smell of money to some, but kind of a stench to myself. But I just traveled on, and that day ended up being my longest day of the tour so far. Unfortunately, crossing over the border at about 9:30 at night, wasn't able to take a photo because it was lights out by that point. What a relief to be in Central Time. Here I just feel like I'm a little bit closer to home being in Central Time Zone. Got to give a shout out to my support driver, Aaron Christensen, on this one. I'd sent him ahead to find a camping site there in Seminole. Come to find out there were no campsites available, and the cheapest hotel room was close to $100 because of the oil business. But Aaron kept persevering. He asked around and ended up getting us a free room through a church that wanted to donate this room to our cause. So that was a true blessing there in Seminole, Texas. Waking up day 9 in Seminole, Texas, after having ridden 211 miles the day before, it was hard getting out of bed. But even so, got on the bike, continued to venture eastward, made it as far as Snyder, Texas that day, roughly 120 miles or so. Very flat, a lot of oil country, a lot of big trucks passing by. Started to experience a little bit of the western Texas headwinds that people had warned me of. Day 10. This was sort of a breaking point for myself. Venturing out day 10 from Snyder, that was when the winds really began to pick up, the western Texan winds that I'd heard so much about, and unfortunately, they were not in my favor this time around. And after 100 miles of brutal headwinds, I finally decided to call it a day in Breckenridge, Texas. Although we'd made arrangements to stay in Weatherford, I just couldn't go any further. My body was broken, I was tired, it was so discouraging. So Aaron picked me up, brought me to Weatherford, only to get up at 4:30 that next day to be brought back to Breckenridge to begin day 11. After making it to Weatherford area, which is really the gateway to the Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington area, I wanted to get at least 35 miles or so into this just massive metropolitan area. So I decided to take the southern route. And as you can see, there was really no good way to get through this 100-mile vast expanse of city. So the route I took looked a little something like this. But one way or another, I ended up making it through. Day 11 made it as far as just below Arlington. Got up bright and early. Day 12 made the final route. And day 12, let me tell you, day 10 and 11 really killed me, but day 12 was a breakthrough. It was busy, congested city riding at times. At times it was rural farm fields. At times, I kid you not, it was riding through mud, carrying my bike across train tracks and through swamps. After the experience I'd had, when I'd reach a road that was closed and I knew there was a road a mile or so on the other side, I didn't turn around and backtrack. I just pressed on. So as you can see from the looks of that bike, I got quite muddy today, but it was an adventure. It was a ton of fun, and it was just what I needed coming off of that awfully discouraging day 10 and 11 through the western plains of Texas, which just about killed me with those headwinds. So I've got a little mud on the tires, a little mud on my brakes, but I tell you what, it was a blast of a day. Getting through that giant Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington area really brought new life back into my ride. So right now, about 1,300 miles into the trip, I've got 1,100 miles to go. Just wrapping up day 12. It's clear that I'm well short of my goal of 15 days, but I'm still believing as I get into some of the rolling hills of the southeast that I'm gonna be able to carry some heavier mileage in these days, because although it's gonna be an eastern wind, I know that I'll have a little bit of blockage. I'll have some trees, I'll have some hills to kind of help block that wind. And I've got the sight of the finish line. So once again, guys, I want to thank you so much for helping me get through days 10 and 11 and those brutal headwinds of western Texas. I'm feeling so much better now as I cap off day 12. But please do keep the prayers coming. They are making all the difference in the world. The power of prayer is amazing. And it's truly making the difference in this adventure, I can tell you that. So as I press ahead, gonna try to get as far as Shreveport, day 13 tomorrow. Gonna do my best. It's about 160 miles. Gonna be a little bit of a headwind tomorrow, but I'm gonna be out the door by 5:30 in the morning. Hopefully have a good 50, 60 miles in before those winds start to pick up again. I've looked at the weather, and I tell you what, it's gonna be light headwinds for the rest of the trip, but not gonna be discouraged. Again, just gonna press on, hit that goal within the next 8 days. So with every one of you pulling for me, praying for me, encouraging me, I know I can do it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and God bless every one of you.